Right, meditation. So we had these um, we had these videos, um, and I think that many of you tried it, and that was really good. And then you had all kinds of questions, and actually most of you had very similar questions, and they were really good questions. So, but first of all, there was a few questions just on the relationship between this mindfulness meditation and religion. And one of you actually mentioned the religious purpose of these meditation techniques. And so, actually, this is an important question because um, something like mindfulness, and meditation, it's actually becoming more and more popular. And like in yoga, there's also meditation practices, yoga, things like that. Um, it doesn't need to have anything to do with religion, right? So you can just do this, and even the way. So if you um, when you watch the videos of on the mindfulness meditation, um, and the monk, at first he's just talking about these techniques and anybody could do it, and it was only really around the last video, the third one, that he linked that to the Buddhist teachings. But you could just do it and not link it up to Buddhist teachings at all. So what's the connection between this and religion then? Well, um, basically, so uh, because these different meditation techniques have effects that, like for example, for relaxation, right, or what I'm saying, talking about observing the mindscape, that at one level don't really require any religious faith or any religious objective. You could just do it and see what happens. And people who do it would do it for their health benefit or for relaxation, and self-knowledge and things like that. So that doesn't really require anything religious. But um, but but it's interesting that these practices were developed usually within religious traditions. And it's only more recently, in the past few decades, that it kind of was taken out of religion and anybody can do it. But when it's taken out of religion, so anybody can do it, usually it's remains at a relatively superficial level. So it's just to relax, right? Oh, it's just to overcome your stress. Oh, it's just to know yourself a little bit better. So then you could use the meditation instrumentally for any kind of goal, right? And so, okay, that's fine. But actually, within the religious tradition, though, the purpose is much deeper, and it's really to reach a higher level of consciousness. And so, this kind of mindfulness meditation of observing the thoughts coming and going is just a very basic technique. It's like a level one, very, very basic kind of level one technique, which is just the beginning of getting to understand who you are and what is the true nature of yourself in order to reach a higher level that is beyond your ordinary self. Um, and so, so actually within a religious tradition, so whether it's say like Buddhism or Taoism or Hinduism, and actually there are also, although it's not as well known, but there are similar meditation traditions in Christianity and in Sufi Islam. Within the religious tradition, this is just the first stage for advancing much farther and developing your consciousness. So that's really the difference. So about the religious purpose. But then, one of you mentioned that, well, yeah, but he's talking about Buddhism, but people at Buddhist temples, you go there and they're praying for very, very materialist desires. So we had this whole meditations about being aware of your desires and let them go, and then discover how, all of this is impermanent and you shouldn't be attached to it and everything like that. But you go to a Buddhist temple, and obviously those people are very attached to worldly desires. They're praying for money, they're praying for their career, they're praying for their business, they're praying for their exams. Yeah, so go to the temple before your quiz after reading week. Just make sure you get a good grade. So they're praying for these very obviously very worldly and even material needs. So, so well. So I mean, the thing is, in religion, there are also many levels of understanding. And some religions, for example, Buddhism, they have the idea that anybody can come in. It doesn't matter your level of understanding. And even your level of understanding is very low, that's fine, just come. And we won't stop you, and we won't even tell you you're wrong. So you have a very material kind of desire, burning desire, and you want to, burn incense for that, and you don't, and then in the Buddhist temple, it's called fangbian, right? It's called expedient means. It means we will have compassion for you no matter who you are and what you want. And we won't exclude you. We won't say, no, you shouldn't be like that. No, don't ask for that. No. Just if you are, just suffering and have a lot of worries and you come and pray for those worries, that's fine. But if you want to overcome your worries by transcending your worries, detaching yourself from that, well, that's even better, okay? So basically, and so you'll see this in all religions, you'll see many people whose behavior is actually nothing to do with the religious teachings and whose level of understanding is very low. Well, just like you go to a university, and then you'll have some students who have, poor students and other ones who are better students, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But a place, let's say like Hong Kong U, right? Right. It's a high-ranked university, so it has high level. The bar for it's hard to get into Hong Kong U, right? There's a high bar, so it will exclude most people. But most religions, actually not all of them, but the big world religions, they don't exclude anybody. So they let anybody in, even though their thinking is often completely the opposite from the teachings of that religion. Right? Now, there are some religious sects that are very exclusive, and they won't let people in. But then actually that could be dangerous as well. So yeah, but anyway, that's why you will go to any religious community and you'll find all kinds of people who don't really understand or even know about their religious teachings. But the other thing that one of you mentioned, which was really important, is that actually, I mean, is it really essential to have all these gestures, like sitting in this way, or breathing in this way, saying this and saying that? So the meditation technique seems to be very precise, with a very clear technique. But is that really necessary? And in fact, how about other religious rituals that, for example, in Catholic practice, as you mentioned, the Eucharistic adoration, you could look at the blessed host, you could pray, you should worship for a long time, you should cross your leg, you could kneel down, you could stand. There are many different ways of doing it. Yeah, so actually, this is a really profound question in religion, because on the one hand, most religions, they want to go beyond the superficial appearance. And so you want to go to what is the state of your heart, the state of your mind. And so at that level, it really doesn't matter, whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, whether you're lying down, whether you're doing this or whether you're doing that. All that matters is what is the state of your heart. That's really the only thing that matters. So in some religious traditions, they really emphasize that far more. So the outward form, how you do it, it really doesn't matter at all. And then some other religious traditions actually really emphasize the form very much. And actually, when I was doing research on Taoism, and I did research on Taoist monks who live in monastery in Huashan in northern China, and even who live in caves in Huashan in northern China. And I also studied American Taoists from America who practice Taoism and Taoist Qigong, and then they go to Huashan and they meet with the monks. And so the many of the Americans, they really, that was their idea. It doesn't matter really. The most important thing is yourself and how you feel. And as long as you do what feels good for you, the form, it doesn't matter at all. But then the Chinese monks, they said, no, the form is very, very important. So there are these different ways of looking at it. And in Christianity, you have in Protestant Christianity, it tends to emphasize what matters most is the state of your heart, and the form doesn't matter so much. But then in other forms of Christianity, such as more in Catholic, then there will be the form, the ritual will be more important. So actually throughout religion, and in Buddhism, you'll also find the same. Some people, like in Zen, Chan Buddhism, the only thing is your heart. But then others will say, the Buddhist discipline and the rules are more important. So I think it's easy for us to understand the idea that what matters is your heart. That's what matters the most. But why would some people say that the form is more important? Well, they would say that actually by taking a certain form, your body in a certain way, whether it's sitting in meditation or whether it's in the ritual and bowing down and things like that, it actually helps to actually change your mind and your mindscape in a certain way. So for example, sitting down in meditation, the posture of meditation in that specific way, it actually will help you to concentrate. And if you follow the strict rule, it just helps you it'll actually avoid your mind scattering around. It just helps you, okay, I'm going to do exactly the procedure of the meditation. And so that will help me to be focused. Or if it's a ritual that you have to bow down, and so on, it actually helps you to acquire the to be more humble, right? To overcome being so proud and being so arrogant and being so egotistical. So by actually bowing down in prayer, you actually acquire this virtue, or you can acquire the virtue of humility and so on. So this is, the difference that you'll have between the internal, your internal motivation and your outward expression. And Confucius, he emphasized the outward expression of Li, but then he also emphasized your state of the state of your heart is very important. So both of them are very important, as Confucius said. So anyway, that was about the religious dimension. Now, okay. Then some of you talked about, actually, meditation might have some problems, and it might not be such a good thing. And right. So first of all, one of you mentioned that some people actually, so I said it's like sports. Okay. Well, then some people just aren't good at sports. Some people are not good at sports. Or even if they like it or they want it, some people are just better, they're their body is better made for, you know, they have better natural ability for sports and other people have less. So you were asking, well, isn't this the same thing for meditation? And actually, I think you're right. I think you're right. Um, so yeah, you know, my wife and I, we talk about these things because somehow me, I'm more, I'm not good at sports, actually. I was awful at sports when I was in school. But then these things like Qigong and meditation, somehow I am more sensitive. So, but my wife, she's like, she can't feel anything whatsoever, you know, absolutely nothing. Right? So, okay. So, yeah. So I think there are different people have different dispositions. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about prayer. And I also think the same to some degree. So some people have different, more natural tendency that they will be more suited for this, and other people less. But again, it's just kind of like sports. How can I say? You know, I was really bad at sports when I was at school. And so I really paid no attention to my body at all. I was good with, I was only good at studying. So I was a real nerd, only reading, and never, you know, the physical education class, I hated it so much. I hated it. And, you know, so much. And so even I can't coordinate my body for anything. Even now you want me to nail something in the wall, I'm going to bash my thumb instead, you know. Just totally useless at this. So I thought I was so horrible at anything related to my body. But then something happened. And actually, it's actually kind of funny. It's related to prayer. I mean, maybe I'll talk about it later. But at one point, I came to the decision that I had to go to the gym, and I had to work out. And at the beginning, I thought I'm utterly useless. I mean, how could I even? The very idea for like 40 years of my life, I could not imagine myself. I thought like pumping iron and lifting weights. What a ridiculous idea. I mean, utterly, I could not imagine myself doing this, you know. But well, I had made that decision to do it, and so I went, and you know, and then I learned it, and little by little, and I overcame that barrier, and you know, it completely. I changed. I mean, I used to be actually much fat. Like, yeah, you know, I literally changed my body as a result. So we shouldn't also tell ourselves, oh, I'm not good at anything. I can't do it. I'm not suited for it, you know. So then I realized that I could actually do something. I could actually do something with my body on the muscles, you know, and on all that kind of thing, even though I thought I was no good at it. So I guess what I'm saying, we shouldn't give up too soon, even though we might not have a natural disposition to something. Then one of you mentioned about reinforcing negative emotions and thoughts. So actually, when doing this exercise, actually what you had was a lot of sad thoughts came, a lot of negative thoughts came and emotions, and they just keep coming more and more. And so you were asking, well, is you know, maybe in that case, the meditation would not be a good idea. And actually, I agree. So obviously, I think if it's reinforcing negativity and things like that, it's not a suitable kind of practice. And for people who are mental, who have, if you have like psychological or certain mental issues, including depression or suicidal thoughts, or bipolar, or certain mental issues, this kind of sustained meditation practice would probably not be good. It probably would be bad. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So some people who have certain mental or psychological problems practice these kinds of meditation and looking in your mind, and do it for a very long time or intensely. It could actually be dangerous. Yeah. And then the other issue that was brought up was that it can't remove the objective conditions of stress and worry. So I told you we'd have a harder test after reading week. So I gave you a higher stress level. And that objective condition is not going to change no matter how much you meditate, right? And the objective condition of finding, affording a home in Hong Kong and housing and all these things, it's not going to change. And that's true. And so all that these practices can do is to help to shape your mindset, your mindscape, in order to be better able to handle these stresses. Yeah. And for some people, like I mentioned, if it reinforces negative emotions and thoughts and so on, it actually might not help at all. And for many people, though, who do it, it would help them to deal with the stress. But of course, it won't. And then if it helps you to deal with it, it helps you to change the objective conditions, right? All right. So then, okay. And then basically, a lot of you, practically almost everybody, was asking questions regarding motivation. So basically, the issue is, well, if we're just saying let go and let these thoughts come and go and detach ourselves from our desires and everything like that, well, basically then, I mean, aren't we going to lose our whole motivation to strive for anything in life, right? I mean, we might just even become lazy and slothful because we learned that, the monk said we should, and I said too, let go of your desires, right? Just let go. All right, let go of it all and then just become, well, oh, and everything is impermanent. So why even bother striving for anything? So even become, somebody mentioned this new trend in China, right? Of Foxi, right? So it's these lazy guys, right? Lazy guys and lazy people who just like have very passive attitude toward life because they say, well, I'm kind of dropping out of society in a sense. And like, I'm not going to try hard for anything. So would we even, Camus said, even Sisyphus, even if it's meaningless, we should just go, and live our life to the fullest. So is this approach of mindfulness actually just letting us deflate that? We lose all the desire to live, right? And even some of you said that, well, actually, aren't these attachments and desires and even our greed, they're good for us because they motivate us, right? When we're greedy, we'll fight to get more money, right? All these desires, we want something, and that leads us to struggle. That leads us to make an effort, and then we'll do great things. So actually, like one of you even said, well, God actually, he made us greedy so that we would go and do things, right? So much of our world is, in a sense, it's thanks to all this greed that we build things, right? We strive. We try to become better. And even anger. I mean, it's anger that, we see injustice going on around us. And so that makes us angry. And then being angry, we organize, we mobilize, right? In order to do something, in order to change. So isn't that anger good? So why would we let go of that anger? Then we just do nothing. And then, we see injustice in society and then well, who cares? So would we even lose our empathy for other people? We just don't care. Oh, I see somebody suffering. Oh, let it come and let it go. Oh, let it come and let it go. Oh, it makes me sad. Let it come and let it go. Nothing at all. So, all right. Well, actually, all of these questions are, these are all a very good result of this mindfulness practice, of practicing it, or even by thinking of this mindfulness practice and imagining, doing this mindfulness practice. And then actually it causes to ask these questions. Because then suddenly you start to ask yourself, well, questions that maybe we don't ask ourselves normally, right? What is the source of our motivation? You know, what is it that's motivating me? You know, when you start asking yourself, well, should I have any desire? Okay, and you're asking yourself, well, maybe some kind of desire is necessary. Well, yeah. So then, well, what is it that you desire? And is that desire good for you? Where does that desire come from? Do you want this desire to control you? You know, what kind of desire do I want to have? So if we're going to say, okay, no, I don't want to be like a Fuoxi, you know, some lazy person, passive and lazy. I have passion for life. I think it's important to want something. I think it's important to strive for something, to have goals in life. Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. But then you want to ask yourself, well, then what is it? And where does it come from? So through this mindfulness, you start really going right to it, you know, you become aware, you stand back, look at all your thoughts, and then you start becoming aware of all these thoughts at the surface, you know, at the surface in your mind. And then you might say, okay, if I blow it away, if I blow away all those thoughts, uh-oh, what is it? What's there going to be? Is it going to be, you know, what should I do? What should I be motivated with? So that's scary. That's scary. Is it now going to be completely empty? And I don't know what to do. So actually often we grasp, you know, we are always pursuing some kind of desire all the time. We're always pursuing some kind of desire. And we grasp onto that desire. We let that desire control us because it keeps us busy. It keeps us, right, it keeps us alive. That desire keeps us alive. That object of consciousness, the thing that you want, right, as I said before, it gives you power and it keeps you alive when you're going for it and running after it. Um,
Hello,
your
Professor.
mind do that. And then you let go, you let go and you let go. Then you start realizing you start realizing that you're grasping after certain things. You start seeing what's in your mindscape and you start seeing what you're grasping after, what you want. Yeah.
Professor, you were lagging, so we didn't hear what you said just now.
Oh, okay.
Just the last minutes, you are just weak connection.
Okay. So what was I saying? Right. So basically, right, I was just saying that we then become aware that our desires are giving us meaning and purpose, and we are grasping onto those desires because they are giving us meaning and purpose, and they're in fact giving us life. You know, they're giving us something to do in life. And so then it becomes kind of scary to think about just dropping it. But the thinking of dropping it makes you aware of it. And you imagine, what would it be like without it? So this is part of becoming objective, like looking at your own life objectively. You step back, look at your own life, look at your life objectively. Step back and look at all these things. And then you might ask yourself, well, maybe that thing that I'm desiring, that I'm striving after, is not really the best thing for me. But then you might actually realize, no, it is the best thing for me, right? So you step back, you can become more objective, and then you go back into the world. So, yeah. So, you know, as one of you mentioned, people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, I think Jack Ma as well, they all meditate, right? So these people are not passive people. They are not people who do nothing in their life, right? These are people who do great things in their life. So the meditation doesn't make them passive. So, but this brings us to another question, and this question does not have an answer in that particular meditation, this mindfulness meditation. So, you know, when you got like, you were like, well, wait a minute, we need to desire something. We just can't get rid of, we have to strive for something. So that's what you guys are, you know, pretty much all saying, you know. And yeah, we're always striving. We're always striving. So it's as if we have this power that's leading us to do something all the time. We have this life power. We have this life in us that we're always striving for something. We just basically can't stop. Now, some people are very energetic people, and they have, you know, they will always do a lot of things. And some people are less energetic, and, you know, they will do less things and so on. But everybody has all of this power in them. And so in a sense, we're like a channel of power. We're like a channel of power that's flowing through us. You know, that we have every day we're doing so many things. You know, we're motivated to do so many different things. And when you look at through a whole lifetime, or even through years or so on, then you do so much. So all of this power that you have to do all of these things. So you're a channel, the power is flowing through you. So then where are you going to direct this power, right? How are you going to use this power? And so, right, even the Buddhist who's kind of saying, let go of all your desires and everything like that, like, and at a very, very high level of Buddhism, you know, you should completely extinguish all desires. But then if you look at even the monk in the video, well, he's obviously very motivated to make all these videos, right? So, you know, then you have a desire for a higher level of spiritual transcendence. You have a desire to spread these teachings. So he has that life that's flowing through him too, and then he's doing all these things, right? But he decided to direct that power in order to spread those teachings, spread the meditation, in order to help other people to become happy and enlightened. So the question is, where do you direct this power? So you have this power. Where are you going to direct it? How are you going to use your power? How are you going to use your life? Now, actually, this technique of mindfulness is only one of many different forms of meditation. And all of them have different purpose. So actually, a very basic one is training the breath. And I mentioned it in one of my videos. So simply, breath training is one, which really helps to make the connection between your mind and body, to come to a greater relaxation, to come to a greater serenity. So it's a really, really good basic training. And it's also very, very good for your health as well. So breathing, learning how to train breathing. Mindfulness is about looking at yourself objectively. So, or looking at your mindscape objectively. So learning how to observe your mindscape. But the mindfulness only shows you what is in your mind. But then it doesn't give you an objective. Like, so what do you want to do then? So remember, I think it was in week 1, in one of the readings and videos, I said, plan your goals for your next year, and even for 10 years from now. And I said, and your goals for your body, for your mind, and your spirit. So I said, do this kind of exercise. And so those goals become an object of consciousness in your mindscape. So there are other types of meditation, which is visualization, which is actually visualizing something. So making something into your object of consciousness and focusing on it. So it's like imagining yourself in the future, or imagining, for example, something that has positive energies for you, right? So visualization is different from mindfulness, because mindfulness is about observing, and visualization is actually about creating something in your mindscape, placing an object of consciousness in your mindscape, imagining it, and really focusing on that imagination. Then there's concentration. So really learning how to focus very carefully, training your concentration. Another one is gratitude. So learning how to appreciate everything that you have and expressing that appreciation. Thinking about everything that you have and then expressing that appreciation, and really makes you feel very good. And prayer. And I'm going to talk about prayer in a few minutes, which I consider to be, at some level, it's different from meditation, but also I think it's a kind of meditation. So somebody like Steve Jobs, right? Well, I don't know what kind of meditation he did exactly, but but basically, let's imagine, you want to accomplish something. Well, the first thing is, you want to accomplish something in life, you have to train your mind. The first thing is, you need basic discipline. Okay, so the breathing, a basic good state of your mind and body. Breathing helps that. Then you need to know yourself objectively. The mindfulness helps that. Then you need to be able to visualize your objective. Then you need to concentrate on your objective. Okay. Then you need to have a positive attitude. So all of this then will help you to focus and will actually help you to achieve your objective more effectively. Okay. So, so this is how these different forms of training of the mind, training of the mindscape, can actually, they do not make you passive. They actually train different abilities of the mind in order that you can be more active. And then the objective can be worldly objective, like Steve Jobs. I mean, it's really about business, and things like that. Or it can be a spiritual objective, a religious and spiritual objective, a transcendental objective, where you're really, your motivation is really for God, for all of humanity, for all living beings. Now, I was talking about power. And I mentioned earlier that, this was a few weeks ago, how we, we have an object of consciousness in our mindscape, and in a sense, we empower it. And then it has power over us. And then some of you had asked, and then I mentioned that, okay, not all of the power comes from inside yourself. So thoughts and ideas, they enter our mindscape, and they influence us, they have power over us, and these thoughts and these ideas come from outside of us. So basically, the power in the mindscape has both internal and external sources coming together in the mindscape. And so then some of you asked about, well, God, right? Because I said, imagine God. And when I said imagine God, it was like as if it all comes from inside yourself. You're just imagining it from inside yourself. But is God not an external power? And I want to bring this question up right now because I'm going to bring up the idea of prayer. And actually, right, there's no, at least this year, there's no, I need to write actually an essay about prayer. And now I'm going to start talking about it because I think this is really important. For me, it's very, very important. And so I'm going to say something about that right now. Now, you know, in this course, I guess the reason why it's harder to talk about prayer is that it seems to be much less objective. So it's really harder to talk about in an academic course. And so remember that actually everything I present in this course, it's simply presenting these ideas and these techniques, these practices to you, and then what you think about it is totally up to you, okay? Whether you agree with me or not is totally up to you. And yeah, and it may be helpful for you, or maybe it's just simply you have some factual knowledge about it, and it's totally up to you. But prayer is very, very important in all religions. I would say that it's actually the foundation of religion, and it has the basically a lot of the issues that you the questions that you brought up about mindfulness meditation. All I could think is that the answer is in prayer. So then I have to talk about prayer, okay? Because there's something about prayer that's really different from these kinds of meditation. But there's also something that is similar, so it overlaps. And so that's what I'm going to talk about now. Now, and because I am a Baha'i, and because I pray as a Baha'i, so I will talk about something about Baha'i prayer. And people from different religions, they might agree that some things I'm saying is the same in their religion, and then there might be some things that are different, okay? But I'm going to talk about the Baha'i approach because that's the one that I know about the best. And in your, tutorials, Steve, he might be able to share other experiences or other thoughts with you. So I'm going to share a prayer. So in the Baha'i faith, we have many, many different prayers. So these are written prayers. Now, first of all, there are so many different ways of praying. There are unlimited different ways of praying. And, some people pray simply in their own words, in their own hearts. Other people go to church or to temple to pray. Burning incense is also a kind of prayer. So there's so many different ways of praying. And actually, from the Baha'i perspective, it actually, just like I was saying earlier, what really matters is in your heart. That's the most important thing, and not really how it's done. But in the Baha'i faith, there are written prayers that are written for us. And so we often read or recite these prayers. And I'm just going to share with you one prayer, and then I'm going to talk about it so that it can, and I'm going to use this idea of the mindscape and visualization to talk about prayer. So this prayer says, "O God, we are as plants, and thy bounty is as the rain. Refresh and cause these plants to grow through thy bestowal. We are thy servants. Free us from the fetters of material existence. We are ignorant. Make us wise. We are dead. Make us alive. We are material. Endow us with spirit. We are deprived. Make us the intimates of thy mysteries. We are needy. Enrich and bless us from thy boundless treasury. O God, resuscitate us, give us sight, give us hearing. Familiarize us with the mysteries of life, so that the secrets of thy kingdom may be revealed to us in this world of existence, and may confess thy oneness. Every bestowal emanates from thee, every benediction is thine. Now, okay. Now let's just, for me, I could say, when I say this prayer, when I read this prayer, all of these images come into my mindscape. Okay? For example, O God, we are as plants, and thy bounty is as the rain. Refresh and cause these plants to grow through thy bestowal. So what I'm doing when I'm saying that prayer is I'm visualizing myself and you as plants, okay? As plants who are growing. So basically that I'm kind of, the prayer places in my mind this idea that I am a growing, that that I'm a plant, that I'm growing, right? And that I'm thirsty for something greater than me, right? Right? That I'm growing up. And so it puts me into this mindscape of being small and accepting something great, right? And so there's this rain that's coming onto me. And even in that, it already feels so good just to be in that state, in this, the mindscapes, there I am, and there's the rain coming down onto me. It's being refreshed. And then I'm starting to grow, okay? So the prayer is actually a visualization, right? So if you get into this, into the words affect, they modify, or they create this beautiful mindscape. We are ignorant, make us wise. So the prayer reminds me, I'm a professor. So according to society, I know a lot more than you guys. I have a PhD, I publish articles, and I publish books and all these kind of things. So I'm very, very knowledgeable according to society. But this prayer reminds me I'm ignorant. That means all the knowledge I have is still almost nothing. There is still so much more that, that I could learn. So it gives me humility, right? It gives me humility. I could have all the PhDs and be a professor in the best university in the world, but still actually I am ignorant. I still have so much to learn. Okay. All right. There are so many things here that I won't have time to talk about. But so I just wanted to share the idea that the prayer actually is a kind of a visualization that creates a certain mindscape. Now, then the question is this merely an imagination, or is it something coming from outside of me? I said that I feel good when I imagine the rain coming down on me. So first of all, the prayer actually didn't come from me, right? So if I were to imagine using my own mind, maybe I can't imagine such beautiful things. So the prayer gives me these beautiful imaginations. It doesn't come from me. It came from Baha'u'llah, who revealed these prayers. So it comes from outside of me. So the prayer, in a sense, it helps to shape a mindscape that I could not imagine all by myself. So then my mind steps into this mindscape and start to live in that kind of mindscape. Here's another prayer, and this is about imagining God, okay? So another prayer. Say, "O my God, O thou who art the maker of the heavens and of the earth, O Lord of the kingdom, thou well knowest the secrets of my heart, while thy being is inscrutable to all save thyself. Thou seest whatsoever is of me, while no one else can do this save thee. Vouchsafe unto me through thy grace what will enable me to dispense with all except thee, and destine for me that which will make me independent of everyone besides thee. Grant that I may reap the benefit of my life in this world and in the next. Open to my face the portals of thy grace, and graciously confer upon me thy tender mercy and bestowals." So this is a prayer in which basically the prayer puts me facing God, who art the maker of the heavens and of the earth, Lord of the kingdom, who knowest the secrets of my heart, while that thy being is inscrutable to all save thyself. This means that God knows everything in my heart, but nobody else can know about God, can know anything inside God. So this prayer puts in my mindscape, it puts me in a situation where I have nothing to hide. And I can just, all the bad things, all the things that I want to hide to the world, that I don't want you guys to know, okay, right? Well, I don't need to hide them to God. He knows. So I can just open that up, open my heart wide. And at first that might feel very scary because there's a lot of things inside me that I don't want anybody to know. And actually, I don't want God to know either. But no, he knows. So given that he knows, I actually consciously open it up. And then I can see all the bad things inside me. And I hand them up to God because he knows it. So I'm not going to try to hide. And that's a great way for me to face myself, you know. But then it says, God is inscrutable, means I cannot really know what's going on in God's mind. So it's actually telling me that everything, all of this is an imagination. This whole mindscape is an imagination. Because I can never know, God is beyond my understanding. God is beyond my understanding. So I can only imagine myself facing God, but then what's actually happening, it's beyond my understanding. Now again, this prayer came from this book. It came from Baha'u'llah. I didn't invent this imagination. So it came from outside of me, but then it gives me a certain mindscape, which allows me to face something, which puts me in this situation in my mind of facing a God that is beyond my understanding. But this has a lot of effect on me. It has a lot of effect on me. And one thing that I found is that it allowed me to open myself, to face myself and to accept myself, and to become a better person. And it made me so confident. It's hard to explain, but many people who pray will say the same thing. Yeah, if you pray regularly, it is so powerful. And I can't explain, but that's what I would say. So, all right. So then what is the motivation then? It's to go back to the mindscape, and then we see all these thoughts and everything like that. And so what should our motivation be? What should we be desiring? What should we be grasping for? And I'll just give my own answer. It's only my answer, and other people would have different answers. But your questions really made me think, what are my motivations in life? And so I would put it this way. First of all, my motivation is to receive my gift from God. So basically, everything I have is my gift that God has given me. And I accept that with humility and gratitude. I'm so happy for everything that I have. And how can I receive this gift? Is to develop my capacities to the fullest. So God has given me all these capacities, all these abilities. So how can I receive this gift? I have to use these capacities. So I have to develop these capacities. All the abilities that I have, I should develop to the fullest. That's the best way that I could receive this gift. So you were asking, should I be foxi, right? Should I just become passive and do nothing? Well, personally, I would say no, because I received this gift, and the best way to receive the gift is to use the gift. So I have to develop these capacities. So not be passive in life, not at all. On the contrary. But watch over my ego. So by striving hard to develop my capacities, I become successful. So, I win awards, and this and that. So this success, that could help my ego to, I think I'm so great. So then, no. Now this here, I see that ego coming up in my mindscape when somebody praises me, when somebody say, oh, you're so great. And I can see that happiness in me. Oh, and then, no. It's not me. I'm just so grateful. I just got it all from God. I'm so grateful. And yet, as the prayer says, I'm ignorant. I don't know anything. I have so much more to learn. So how to receive the gift is to develop my capacities. And how do I return? But then I receive the gift, I have to return the gift. So how do I return the gift? Well, God doesn't need my gift. So what he wants is for us to help other people. So how can I use my capacity to serve humanity? Starting close to me, with my wife, with my children, with my friends, with people I work with my community. So how can I all my capacities, how can I use them to give back to other people, to give back to humanity? So that really motivates me. So then to speak about career, and I thought I'd talk about this because you guys are probably thinking about this. So for me, in seeking for career and working for career, first go for what you love. Go for what you're good at. Go for what brings happiness or goodness to others, and go for what's realistic. These 4 things. It's not easy. And, maybe you don't know what you love. Maybe you don't know what you're good at. Maybe you don't know what brings happiness or good, or, you don't yet know you're stuck in a place that it's hard to bring happiness or goodness to others. And are any of these things realistic? So to be able to find this combination, that's a big motivation in life itself, to keep striving to combine all 4 of these things. Almost impossible to fully achieve. But that itself becomes a goal, something to strive for. When I'm doing something I love, You know, can I also do it that it brings happiness or goodness to others? Because if you bring happiness or goodness to others, it will make you so much happier. When I'm looking for something real, if I'm in a situation that's realistic, can I now go to something realistic and something that I'm good at that brings happiness to others? So striving for all these combinations, you know, right. Then you look back at your mindscape, look at all these different things, looking at yourself objectively, then you can make your objectives more clear and more focused. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And so another thing that I found in life is when I reach these moments that, you know, I just don't know. It's not working. It's not working. And I don't know the solution. And I don't know the solution. It seems there's no way out. It seems there's no way out. So you try, and yet it just doesn't seem to be working. And you're stressed and unhappy, and you can't sit down and meditate and concentrate and do all this mindfulness. You can't, because you're just so worried and upset. So when I'm in that situation, I give it to God. I just say, I just don't know what to do. God, I have no idea. I don't know. So I give it to you. You solve it. But when I say you solve it, that means, okay, I don't know if I should want this or if I should want that. I let go of everything, what I want, and I just give it to you. You solve it the way you want it. Me, I don't know. And I pray. So, for example, here's one prayer that I say. Oh God, refresh and gladden my spirit. Purify my heart. Illumine my powers. I lay all my affairs in thy hand. Thou art my guide and my refuge. I'll no longer be sorrowful and grieved. I will be a happy and joyful being. O God, I will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. O God, thou art more friends. Thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. I dedicate myself to thee, O Lord. So I give the problem to God. I lay all my affairs in thy hand. And then what happens? The next day, I know what to do. Let me get out of, I'm going to stop sharing. Right. So the next day, I know what to do. Somehow, clear. Everything was all tangled up. Or the next day, or a few days later, or whatever, later on, then something is going to open up for me. Maybe a new solution I'd never thought about before. So um, I don't know what this is. Actually, I don't know what's going on. So there are two explanations for this, right? And you pick your explanation. One is that God intervened and he helped solve my problem. Another is that in the prayer, my mental attitude I changed my mental attitude. And it let me, because by letting go of everything and giving it to God, I opened my mind for a new receptive imagination. I stopped going after the solutions that I wanted that weren't working, that didn't work. So I just let go of everything, give it to God. And then by giving it to God, something new could arise because my mind was cleared up, no longer worried anymore. And the solution was one that I didn't imagine before. So I don't know the explanation. And actually, I think the explanation is both. I think the explanation is both. So just to finish this. So I said that I went to the gym. So I was once how this began. So I said that I was totally useless at sports as a child, as a teenager, throughout my life. I'm still not good at sports, but the idea of doing any kind of physical exercise, I just hated it. And by the time, this was until a few years ago, I was growing fat. And people said I had a watermelon in my belly. So I went to the shrine in the world center of the Baha'i faith in Israel. And there's beautiful gardens, and that's where all the Baha'is go. They go to pray. It's the most holy place in the world for Baha'is. And this beautiful, beautiful garden and this beautiful shrine inside. Okay, but what happened was I lost my suitcase in the flight. When I arrived in that country, my baggage was gone. No more baggage. So I had to borrow clothes from somebody. And those clothes were too tight, and I was so fat. So in my prayer, I just felt so tight, the clothes. And so in my prayer, and I was so full of gratitude for everything, all the wonderful things. I was thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I couldn't even think of anything that I wanted. And then I thought, because the buttons of the shirt were so tight, and I'm like, I should lose weight. I should lose weight. But then I was like, I don't like doing exercise. I don't like going on a diet. I don't want to do anything to lose weight. So I said, okay, God, because I'm not that fat, okay? So I said, look, if you think it's important, you deal with it, because I'm not going to do anything. All right, it's not that serious. So if you think I should lose weight, I give it to you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. So that was my prayer. I didn't ask him to make me lose weight. I said, I give it to you. And there was also something else, because I opened my heart and something not good inside me, same thing. I said, I give it to you, and if you think it's a problem, you deal with it. Well, the next day, I lost my appetite. And literally, I was not hungry to half of my, literally, I just cut down by half everything I was eating without even trying. I was simply less hungry. So after a few months, I literally lost like 10 kilos only by eating less. And then people said, "Mai, you have so much, 你的毅力那么强, you know, you're such strong." I was like, no, I'm just less, I have less, I don't know, I'm just not as hungry as before. And then I decided, you know, that I need to just maintain it. So I need to go to the gym. And now I just had the motivation and everything like that to go to the gym, and it worked. And so, you know, I even, you know, I could make myself look better as well. Now with COVID-19, no gym. That really bothers me though. Anyway, so I don't know what happened, to be honest. And you can have your own interpretation of why this happened. And I have no answer. But for me, the lesson is, by giving it to God, you can let go of the problem, and then you will find a way to solve the problem. You won't be passive. You'll actually become even more active. And so is this a pure imagination in my mind, or is God actually doing something? Up to you to decide. I don't know. I don't know. But I found that through prayer, I got so much power. And this is something that the mindfulness cannot give you. It can't give you power. It just allows you to watch. You watch, you don't get power. Now, of course, in Buddhism, they don't pray to God the way I just do, but they go to Buddha. And so in Buddhism, they have the Sambao, you know, Gui Yi Sambao. You have to take refuge in Buddha. And so kind of the same thing in your relationship, in praying to Buddha and so on, is very similar. So yeah, so anyway, I talked for a very long time. So I got a few questions that were sent to me. So yeah, the question is, do you really believe in the external existence and power of God while realizing that it's your imagination? Right, so it seems to be a contradiction. But for me, actually, I would say that it's both, right? So the prayers were given to me, and so these prayers are also a gift of God. They help me to put myself in the very good mindscape that is very powerful. At the same time, they help me to imagine, right? They help me to imagine and use my imagination in a powerful way. But at the same time, I think there's something mysterious. I think there's something mysterious that is beyond all of that as well. So I think it's both. I think it's both. Yeah.